all take a time out. Let's do a podcast about. We'll sit right back, figure this out. Well, let's do a podcast about.
Welcome to Let's Do a Podcast About. I'm Winchester, and today we're going to talk about cybersecurity, but I'm here with Laureen and JB, and we're not just talking about cybersecurity because that sounds like some boring stuff. Let's talk about Cybersecurity. And Laureen and JB are the founders of the Cybersecurity newsletter, and this is a really welcome approach, I think. Now, I know a bit about cybersecurity, and most of it is just enough to scare you. But that's why I like your newsletter, because you kind of talk a little bit in a way that everybody can understand. Tell me, what was it that made you want to make the newsletter?
So we started, we'd been talking about this, for ages. JB and I both have children who, have sailed into the internet in a way that, people of our generation kind of didn't. So they're fearless about it when maybe they should be slightly more fearful. But we also have elderly parents. My mom is in her 80s, and, she has all of her friends who are her peer group. And a long time ago, I helped my mom get on the internet for the first time, and I sort of feel responsible for her experience there. But, I've been teaching her about scams. One of the newsletters we did was about screen cap and share, because I trained my mom, if you get an email that says, someone's been kidnapped, or you get a text that says your checking account is overdrawn or whatever, those are scams. Screen cap them and send them to me. And that slowed her down enough that she has not been victim to any of the scams that are out there targeting, older people. And one by one, her friends were succumbing to those scams. One of her friends got taken for $750. And my mom was like, I feel so bad for my friends because my friends don't have you. And I was like, well, I can fix that. So I brought it to JB and I was like, what do you think we take this, professional, we take this formal? And she was like, let's do the thing. So we launched the thing. And the whole point is that there is so much, the field evolves so fast. And it's so, like you said, fear-based. And we can do better. So we are doing better.
Wow, that's something. Just give me a moment. I gotta cancel some toner cartridges I'm sending to a prince in Nigeria.
Fabulous.
Back to you. So that's really interesting. What's been the response to this thing?
It's funny. I was a little nervous launching it. I fully expected that I was going to get some pushback because Cybersecurity's approach is very simple, very straightforward, very, you can fix this thing. Here's 5 steps to get there. And I thought I was going to get pushback from industry. And so far, 100% of the response I've gotten from industry practitioners is, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I need to send my mom. Thank you so much for doing this. And it all relates basically to levels of communication and ways of communication. I have had my entire career as a technical communicator. And so I'm very used to taking very, very technical things and making them really, really simple for ease of consumption. And a lot of practitioners, especially researchers and the people who were really, down in the trenches, have a lot of trouble breaking these concepts down into something simple. And that's the sweet spot with Cybersecurity, is that it's really simple. Anybody can follow it. Your kid can follow it. Your elderly parents can follow it. Your neighbors can follow it. So the whole point is just communicating really, really simply. But all of my industry friends are like, let me send this issue to my mom. So I'm super happy about that.
That's great. You mentioned that you started your career as a technical writer. How in the world did you end up in cybersecurity?
I had the extreme fortune of landing in an editorial role at a company that produced a SIEM product the late great Alien Vault, which got bought out by AT&T and is now part of their overarching SIEM product.
Okay, wait, you got to define acronyms here. What the hell is a SIEM?
Sorry, it's a monitoring software that allows you to keep track of, what bad guys are trying to crash the perimeter.
I need that.
Anyway, so there's that. And there was a particularly brilliant researcher who worked there who created a product called OTX, the Open Threat Exchange, which is still a thriving interest on the internet. You can look it up. And basically, it's a place where researchers can come together, like social media for cybersecurity researchers, and they can come together and they say, "Hey, we're getting attacks from this IP address. We're getting attacks from, this nationality, whatever." And as a cybersecurity technician, you can proactively alter your entire domain to block attacks from that known attack place.
Fancy.
And so basically for about 3 years, I did nothing but read and edit attack reports. And it was definitely an education.
Wow.
How these things change, how they go in waves, like ransomware. Mm-hmm. Ransomware is such a nightmare, right? But it's actually really fun for some value of. Because...
Is it?
No, it totally is, I swear. By watching the attack logs come in, you can see that ransomware basically it finds a piece of software that is ubiquitous within a certain industry. And then it finds a vulnerability in that piece of software. And then it exploits that vulnerability in that piece of software across an entire type of company. So like 8 or 9 years ago, they were going after paper cardboard manufacturers because there was a flaw in a piece of software that every single paper manufacturer used. So the media didn't really pay attention because, like, who cares? Yeah. Until they figured out that included pizza box manufacturers. And then that was a nightmare. And then everybody's aware, of course, of healthcare companies going down. The United Healthcare hack, for example, which exposed like an insane amount of people's personal data, whatever. Ransomware goes in packs. So as a member of a corporation, you can proactively say like, oh, they're coming for us. Okay, let's make sure everything's patched. Let's make sure everything's secure. You can effectively raise your defenses in advance of attack and make the world a better place. So I was steeped in that stuff for years. And then from there, I got a contract working for a red teaming company, which is where a company will pay a cybersecurity firm to attack them, to show them where their vulnerabilities are. That's a term taken from the military. And then from there, I worked for a company that did nation-state level hacking, which was super fascinating. Wow. So just after, and these are all people who need to communicate what they're doing. Otherwise, nobody knows. They're in a box. They're in a skiff. They're shut away from the rest of us in our day-to-day lives, but the things they work on touch us so completely every single day. The thing is that our readers don't need to know that. They don't need to know that, this is the way that ransomware works. What they need to know is, oh goodness, like my stuff has been exposed. How do I protect myself? And that is really straightforward. So, we have a series of news articles where we say like, this is what you're seeing in the news, big and scary, right? Here are the specific 3 things you need to do to protect yourself from that.
Yeah.
Done.
Wow.
And it's just really straightforward.
Well, I'd like to hear a little bit more about that, but, I want to hear from JB quickly. What's your role in all of this?
So my background originally was TV and film way back when.
Wow.
And
it's a different thing.
Yeah. And I moved over into marketing and communication from there. And I've known Laureen for years, and she brought me into work on with a client of hers. And so that's how we kind of got started on this journey together. And then, so when she brought this to me, my job in this is, Laureen is a technical writer, and Laureen is a technical writer for people that understand technical things, and our audience does not understand technical things. So Laureen takes the stuff that I don't understand and can't quite grasp without a lot of effort, and brings it down to something that I can understand. And then I take it and I translate it down so that everybody else can understand it.
That sounds very important.
She keeps me honest. She keeps me honest. It's fabulous.
Well, we need that.
I also bring the memes and the jokes and the, I'm the one that cybersecurity can, once you start really looking into it, can take you down some really dark and scary hallways. And it is very, very hard to start getting into cybersecurity and trying to protect yourself and learning about it without looking at the entire universe and going, oh gosh, everybody's out to get me. I might as well just turn off all my electronics and go live in a cave. It's a really slippery slope. So my job in all of this, my purpose in all of this is to say, look, it's really not that scary. You can totally do this. It's not going to eat you alive. It's simple. Here's your step-by-step of how to do it. Don't freak out. I will hold your hand. We can get this done. Because it's important. I mean, it's part of the reason, like, our newsletter's free. Our newsletter will always be free.
Like that?
Because it's important that people can learn this stuff. It shouldn't be gatekept. And so we're trying to bring it to people like Laureen's mom, like, people that don't, Gen Xers that are not completely computer savvy, so that they can understand how to protect themselves in a world that is changing so fast right now that, we have a hard time keeping up with the news. We're trying to filter that down so that people can get the most important stuff and protect themselves.
Well, I was sort of tracking on Laureen's ransomware explanation, and I think for a moment I kind of understood that cybersecurity feels a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right? You're talking about scams. We're talking about needing to patch. There's lots of technical stuff. And, I know, like, when I talk to my wife, she'd like it just to work. And it never does. It's always broken. And when I talk to my daughter, she assures me she's got it wired. And she's got a whole lingo that I don't understand half the time. So how do you help? And why do I have to care about the cybersecurity thing?
So on the child side of this thing, we published an article recently on how to remove all of your YouTube comments. And for people, of like the sandwich generation, like Gen X, like, that's no big deal because we're not in the habit of leaving comments on YouTube videos. But our kids, when they first encountered YouTube, were not thinking of the future. And their colleges are now in the habit of scanning children's social media as part of college applications. And I have a friend whose child was getting ready to apply for colleges. She went ahead, she grabbed the YouTube comment cleanup and was horrified to discover the stuff that her kid had been saying online that would have negatively impacted that application. So they were able to go in, clean up that data footprint, and protect the kid from the youthful stupidity that everybody has gone through, but the internet records. Right? So that's my story on the kids' side.
Yeah.
With older folks, again, the scams they're brutal, they're vicious, they're heartrending for some of these people. Like I said, one of my mom's friends got hit by a $750 grandchild scheme.
Wow.
And
what is a grandchild scheme?
So basically the scammers find some way, either through AI or through voice patterning. They pretend like the grandchild is in danger, has been kidnapped, is stranded, is under some sort of threat, designed to make the grandparent panic, respond emotionally, and hand over the cash, which is exactly what happened.
I think I read about something like this where they're able to take your TikTok video and grab your audio and form a whole new dictionary so they can get you to say things you didn't say. Is that right?
100%.
And
that is
and they're using that?
thing. Yep.
Oh, yeah. And
Oh,
I'm
that's
going to bring
terrifying.
up one that hits right at you know, I was going to say our audience, the people that are actually reading the newsletter. For example, you can get a phone call from your bank saying, "Hey, you've got, you've been hacked. There's someone's draining your account." And our first advice for everybody, if that ever happens, is like, "Great, I'll call you back from. I'll go online. I'll get the phone number, and I will call you back, and we'll deal with it." What the scammers are doing now, thanks to AI and AI slop, is they're saying, no, just go ahead and Google our phone number. You'll see it pops right up, and you'll see that I'm calling from the right phone number. Because what has happened now is they've put out so many AI articles and so much AI out there on the internet that when the AI, in the summary, when it comes up, you will see the wrong phone number, the scammer's phone number, showing up. Yes. So that's why this is important for everybody.
And what's AI slop?
Yeah.
AI slop. AI
I'm just trying to keep up.
That's all right. It's a relatively new term. AI slop is all the stuff that gets generated by AI and thrown out onto the internet. It's bad articles. It's bad images. It's stuff that's generated by AI for clicks for disinformation.
Wow. So it's being used for not good too.
It absolutely is one of the things that, we've been discussing exactly how to explain this, because this has gotten to a point where it's really hard to explain simply, but the world as a whole is moving away from things like Google search and into things like doing their searches on ChatGPT. Well, obviously ChatGPT is AI, and AI is uncritical of itself. So AI cannot differentiate between publishing things that are true and publishing things that are slop. It has absolutely no manner of discernment. What made Google search so lovely was that the supposition that accurate resources would rise to the top and inaccurate resources would sink to the bottom. There is no such mechanism for that within AI.
Wow.
So there's no way for people to say, no, this is the scam email, don't use it. And then a bunch of people hit that and, this is a scam, rises to the top. The problem is that the Google AI summary that now rises to the top of a Google search results page is also poisoned in the same way. So trying to explain that to people, you have to understand a lot about how AI works. And so JB and I have been working on figuring out how to simplify that so that it's easily actionable and also not terrifying, because if you start thinking about it, it becomes terrifying really quick.
Well,
so
and my audience is familiar with the album that I put out a while ago, The Waking Giant, where we did a concept album of the idea of AI combined with an immersive environment and what that might do to you. Because we see these headsets and it's pretty damn immersive. So if you have an AI that helps to guide you along, it's easy to kind of lead you down the garden path. But you mentioned, and by the way, some of the music videos I've done recently with AI animation, 3 windshield wipers, pretty funny. But you mentioned how this has changed, and some of it sounds like started with simple search. So I brought along a show and tell item for you.
Oh, good.
I love this. Back when the internet first came out, this is how we thought we'd find stuff.
Yep.
Right, we got the yellow pages. And
that is so OG.
That made
so
sense,
OG.
right? Because those people had yellow pages, and you would say, I want a plumber. You'd look it up, and you find A1 plumbing, and you go, well, good enough. I don't need to keep going down the list. And you get your plumber. Now, there was no real quality control around that. There was just maybe whether the ad looked good and maybe a little bit of word of mouth. And then at a certain point, we got, search engines where we started to have what you were saying, weighting and a little bit of ability to do some critical thinking. But people aren't very good at critical thinking. So now that we have AI, and it makes it so easy to be able to get an answer, and it blows a hell of a lot of smoke up your ass. So it feels good when it's giving you that answer, right?
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
How do we do critical reasoning now? And is it really just about us against scammers?
What do you mean?
So I'm thinking, like,
us
if we're just
scammers.
accepting whatever AI is telling us, that is a little bit of a dumbing down. So critical thinking becomes really important, but it also is deprioritized by the tool.
Oh. I have a whole
All right.
soapbox about
Well,
this.
let's open that
All
up
right.
for a second.
Follow me back to when the normal population was first allowed onto the internet. Okay. The very first thing that a non-DARPA personnel posted on the internet was a freaking chain letter.
Really?
Like, that was the entry of the general public onto the internet. It was not a picture of a dog. It was also not a picture of another thing that starts with D. It was a chain letter. All right? So scams, not cat videos, not dog videos, not anything else.
No.
The first thing that hit the internet was a scam. So, this is a problem we've been dealing with, like, for the entire history of the public use of the
let me interrupt
internet.
you a second, because, that's an interesting point, that chain letter.
Go ahead.
Right, that's the term we give it. But before the internet, people were sending chain letters. Is it different?
Sure. It is
they were trying
not
to sell
different.
The Brooklyn Bridge when,
there you go.
scams have existed
Right.
since the dawn of time.
It's not different.
It's just gotten more efficient.
It's more efficient.
Here's where it broke, in my opinion. Here's where it broke. Because you're right. Like, chain letters and, low-level scams like that have been in existence literally forever. I think, and this is just my opinion, there's no, like, study, research on this. I'm sure there is somewhere, but I'm not aware of it. When the world shifted from self-generated, self-promoted content like blogs, and it moved over into platforms where you gave away your discernment to the algorithm. At the point at which you stopped deciding what you were going to read every day, and you handed the choice of what you were going to see to the algorithm, you started to give away a certain amount of discernment. And that has simply become worse. Everyone is now aware of the harm that platforms do. For example, Sarah Wynne Williams' book, Careless People, about the inner workings of Facebook, and the number of people who have literally lost their lives because of what the algorithm does to the way people think about the issues that impact them. And part of my thing is to demystify technology a little bit, to call out platforms clearly for what they are, and to give the tools to people to bring their discernment back away from the algorithm and back into a world that they control.
Wow, that's some heady stuff. For me, most of my social media just tells me I need more dance videos.
This is why JB exists. Yeah.
I don't know why. All right, so we're trying to separate people from their money. And we've got scammers trying to do that. And we've got vulnerabilities on our systems, and they're exploiting it to try to get that money. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned that there's also psychological harm, the trolls. Why do we have that?
So there's a kind of a thing in philosophy about how humankind advances technologically before they advance morally. This was actually explored by Oppenheimer. Like, the whole idea that, like, we can build these things that we have no business, utilizing other people. The man who invented the firearm felt that he had created a weapon that was so terrible that it would end wars for all time. We know where that ended up. So the thing about technology is that it's exactly the same as the gun or the nuclear bomb, in that we can do extreme harm to people because people haven't really caught up with the moral wherewithal. Nobody has judged Facebook on a moral basis.
So there's also the aspect of, all of the data leaks that come from this. And the idea that I'm agreeing to a privacy term without reading it, and a lot of that data of mine is being sold to be able to fuel some of this, right?
Yes. Yes.
So there's
Yes,
the
yes.
idea of being able to sell it for profit, and perhaps there's good intent at a certain point. And then there's the bad intent that maybe leads to the data breaches that comes from the vulnerabilities, that comes from the hackers, that may be from the nation state.
Or from anywhere else. I mean, there's profit motive, there's political motive. Like,
But this feeds into some of why we have scams then, yeah?
oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you guys have, I just noticed, you guys have a scam database that you've started.
Yeah.
We just,
GB,
we just launched
talk
that
about
this,
it.
this week. Yep.
Yeah, so lots of this interesting stuff, I guess, I'm going to be able to find in the newsletter and in the scam database a little bit. Tell me how I might use the scam database.
We built the scam database, like I was talking about earlier. I was saying that so much is changing so quickly. I was telling you about how you can now Google a phone number and the wrong phone number shows up. So what we wanted to do was create something where if you are unsure about the Nigerian prince that is emailing you, that you could go look this up in the scam database. It's growing, and see, hey, has this anything like this happened before? Does this look real? Even if it doesn't, you might see something similar, and it will explain the tactic of what this is and how a scammer would use this and what you should do if you're getting something like this. And we're community sourcing, so we're starting with the scams that we've gotten, and we're putting them in there. And I'm describing things that I've seen online and putting that in there. And then we're asking people, hey, have you seen anything in the wild? Send us a screenshot.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Send us a description of it, and if we have your permission, we will add it to the database. So it will be a growing list of things. I know, sometimes there are parents or people that do not necessarily believe you and want to see a secondary source. So it is also someplace where you can send someone and say, hey, look, I'm not the only one telling you that this is a scam. Look here, this has been reported before. This is something other people have seen. This is how this works. So it's something that you can use personally to check and see if you're not sure about something and how that might actually be a scam. And how to treat it as if it is a scam, and therefore you'll find out one way or the other. And also as a secondary source to back you up if you need it for someone else, like a parent or a child or a friend.
That sounds tremendously helpful. Now, to get at all this, I'm going to go to cybersecuritea.com, right? And I can browse it, and I can sign up to go and check out the scam database. I can read past newsletters. But there's also some subscription stuff. Tell me about what I'm subscribing to and how does that work?
It's a free subscription, so you actually don't have to be subscribed to read the newsletter. All the newsletters are free to use. The only thing we ask for a subscription for a free subscription, is to read the scam database. That's the only thing that we've gated on there, but it's a free subscription. We have one quote unquote paid option, but really what that is a if you value what we're doing and want to support our work, we have basically a $5 a month, buy us a cup of tea kind of thing, and support what we're doing because we are doing this for free. Yes, we have some affiliate links in there, and yes, there's some advertisers, but right now this is free, and we will always keep it free to read because
that sounds wonderful.
Important.
Well, gosh, I think my head's about to explode from all these different things because now I'm thinking, gosh, maybe the world is full of evil. I woke up this morning with a nice cup of coffee and I was doing pretty good. So, thinking about all that, beyond fear, what should I worry about? Because I had this note, what should I worry about? And I meant to ask you that, and now I'm just worried about everything. Is there something that you want to highlight?
So the worry about everything is exactly what we're trying to avoid, right? Because that disempowers you. You're like, oh my gosh, there's so much. I'm overwhelmed. The way we construct the newsletters is like there's a thing, but here are the specific ways in which you protect yourself from that. The number one thing that I would love for everybody in the world to understand is that there is a difference between active data, which is data that you put out into the world on purpose, like when you fill out forms or do subscriptions or something like that. And there is passive data where, there's a million ways that data brokers grab your information and then sell it for their own profit. And I think the number one thing I would recommend is for people to become aware of when they are giving away information and then take concrete steps to not do that. And again, we have a bunch of newsletters about a bunch of different ways to do this, but that is the number one thing, is understand when you are giving information about yourself away for free and stop doing that.
And when you subscribe, we have we will send you our cyber safety essentials guide. And so that gives you some.
I want that.
Yeah. So we've got that you'll get when you subscribe. And that's something that that's got our suggestions for what apps we think you should use, what browser we think works, what email system we think works, paid and free options and some of that stuff. And yeah, that's kind of a good starting point for people. It's a 10-step thing, and it's just kind of like I said, our goal is to keep it simple and easy and not overwhelming. And so that's what, this is a nice slimmed down version of all right, just do this. This is a good start. And you can add on to that. This is a good baseline to start with.
Wow, that's really helpful. So we're saying cybersecurity by obscurity, the idea that I'm not interesting, isn't a thing anymore. And my automatic patching doesn't cut it?
Nope.
Oh.
Sorry, no. Things have gotten... I don't... See, this is the thing, is right. This is why JB is around to keep me honest. It's because I don't want to go crazy. I don't want to terrify people. But
you're good at it.
With the rise of AI, for example, and this is just one example. I'm not hating on AI specifically, sure, although personally I do hate on AI specifically. But bad actors are coming up with new ways to exploit AI to take your data from you. Every single day there's a new, I didn't know they could do that. And it's simply a matter of being aware, mind the gap. It's our newsletter is the daily mind the gap. There's a new threat over here, there's a new threat over there. But I think the other major takeaway is that knowledge is power, and there is always a way to protect yourself from the thing. And sharing that is our goal.
Well, and I think what you're describing is really that you're providing some accessible tools that help me go back to the idea that critical reasoning is going to be important.
Oh, yeah.
So just trusting it, expecting that it'll work out, and knowing that that random person that's just messaging me about another dance video might want something else.
Exactly. Exactly. I think normal people don't understand exactly how profitable their personal data is. For example, one of the tools we recommend is DeleteMe. Because I had gone through DeleteMe. I'm okay, yeah, let's see what my passive data footprint is.
What's DeleteMe?
DeleteMe is a super spiffy tool. So you can go through and request that your information be removed from data brokers. Uh-huh. It is an incredibly labor-intensive process. And frankly, it's days and days and days of your life spent writing notes, writing emails. In some cases, you have to write a letter on paper and mail it to data brokers to get your data out of their database. And then you have to double check, because occasionally they will just add it back in for fun. So you have to check again and check again. It's incredibly labor intensive. Or you can go ahead and sign up with DeleteMe, which does that for you. You give them, your name, your visible data, your address, your phone number, whatever. And then they go and they do all the effort of yanking your stuff off of the known data broker sites. And I discovered that even though I am very careful with my data. I was still in over 400 databases, and somebody somewhere, this is kind of an old people joke, but there was a brilliant, in the 80s, a brilliant Terry Gilliam film called Brazil. And it was the narrative story of what happens when a guy's data gets messed with in the system and then his entire world collapses. Very funny, highly recommended. I mean, who doesn't love Terry Gilliam, right? So somewhere in this ecosystem of these 400 different data broker databases, somebody had conflated my data with follow me here, my husband's ex-wife's new husband.
Oh my
So everything about his data profile slammed into my data profile as if I was married to him, even though, there was this whole chain of causality.
Wow.
So it's really important to actively participate in cleaning up your own passive data footprint.
Yeah, I remember when I first bought my first house, it turned out that there was somebody who'd owned property in the same town where I went to college who had the same social security number as me, but their 6 was my 8 or vice versa, and we'd been merged.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. Now, I've got a stack of letters over here. I must have 50 different offers for credit monitoring. Has that fixed anything?
Credit monitoring
Yeah, all my leaks.
It's a beautiful canary in the coal mine for once your stuff has already been exploited. We would like to get ahead of that and remove the data so that exploiting it isn't an offer. Personally, and we actually just published a newsletter about this, JB, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
About it is impossible to protect your credit data anymore because of the number of scams that have happened with releasing your social security number into the wild. So you literally just need to freeze everything. And at the point at which everything's frozen, yeah, it's good to check in every so often and monitor, but it's not the emergency that it would be if you weren't freezing your stuff. Like, there's always a way to protect yourself in a better way.
Yeah. Wow. And some of this is in that Essentials guide?
Mm-hmm.
And do I hear about more of this from the newsletter?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the scam database has some of it too?
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to have to go sign up. Sounds like I need
You weren't
this.
signed up before you interviewed us?
I went to the website. But I didn't want to give you my information. Now I
That's
do.
hilarious. You know what? You don't have to give us your information because you can do what's called masking your email address so that what goes into our database is not your actual email address, but it bumps to you. So we don't actually have your data. And that's one of the sort of daily habits that you could get into that would improve your passive data scatter.
Is that in the newsletter?
That
Yes!
is in the newsletter. It's also in the cyber. It's also one of the apps that we recommend in our
And what a
cyber
timely
guide.
thing, because it's almost Halloween.
That's
I like
true.
the idea of my email wearing a mask.
I
hope
like
it's
that.
scary.
Yes, and now we know. We will give you a hat tip when we do the email next month. That's about
That's
that.
terrific. And I'm going to decline that next dance video that comes. You know how many people want to dance for me. They all tell me they
See?
love my music. So, it immediately endears themselves to me. So
Today you learned. Yay.
today I learned. And that's why we're here. Any parting shot before we wrap up? Because this has been terrific. I thank you guys for your time on this.
Sure. JB, you got something?
Subscribe. Check out the Cyber Essentials. Check out our Cyber Essentials. I think that will give you 10 things you can do to keep yourself a little bit safer every day. It will give you some recommendations for something to use that's not Gmail, something to use that's not Chrome, things that we know at this point are taking your active and passive information and
use
selling it
all
to
those
data
things.
brokers. Ways to clean up your socials. It is. I don't think everybody realizes at this point, because we're all new to this. This hasn't been around for 100 years. That we all kind of just went bounding into this field, not really realizing what tracks we were leaving, because nobody knew. No one had ever been to the field before, and we all have to kind of take a look around and go, oh crap, you can see exactly where I've been, and we have to go clean up those tracks, and so we want to help people clean up those tracks, and then keep an eye on where they're walking and how they can leave no trace, as you will, as to where they are.
That sounds terrific. Now, I do want to make one suggestion before we go.
Yes.
Hear me out.
Oh no.
Cybersecurity TikTok dance video. Come on. I can give you some music.
Just no.
I did have one parting thought, which is subscribe and share. Because here's the deal. The world's not getting any simpler, and technology is not getting any less complex. Most of what we teach is about establishing good habits, and the best time, to establish a good habit was yesterday, and failing that, it's today. And I really feel like the more the people around us, our friends, our families, our coworkers, are secure, the more secure we all are. And I care enough about this that, as JB said, we're always going to be free. There will always be a free option for this, because this is information that people need to keep themselves safe. So, subscribe, share the word, spread it around, tell your friends.
Gosh, that's really terrific. And let me just look this up for a second. There's no cybersecurity in here. So, I'm going to need that newsletter.
You're going to need it.
I'm going to look up in the scam database and the essentials too, because it sounds like I got some worrying to do and a little bit of homework. But that's why we're here. Thank you so much, Laureen and JB and Cybersecurity. I hope everybody subscribes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.